everybody, I'm here with Gerardo Dominguez from Masonite. He is the Global HRIS Manager, and today we're going to be talking a bit about his journey into Workday and his transition into a new role throughout this COVID period and everything else that's come with that. So, hi Gerardo, if you want to give us a bit of an intro into yourself.
Yes, of course. Hi, everybody. Nice talking to you, Emily. Yeah, so if I can start with my workday journey and how
Yeah,
I ended
please.
up into this space. When I first was given the opportunity to learn Workday was back in 2013 with Workday partner back
Okay.
then. But I actually did a career transition because all of my experience was in the IT support function.
hmm
So, it's a big transition for me, but it was very positive. So,
Had you heard of
start.
Workday? Was it totally new to you, or did you know someone?
So I made a relocation from Indiana here in the U.S. to
hmm
Texas to Dallas,
Okay.
and I was actually searching for roles.
hmm
And at that point, I was looking to join a smaller company that was,
Right.
growing
hmm
because that's where I saw it would give me an opportunity to grow.
hmm
And I saw this product analyst role, and it had, I had the customer service skills, the
hmm
technology skills, but I didn't have the workday skills.
Yeah, of course.
And so I applied, and basically in the summary, I said, "Look, I'm a fast learner. I'm eager
hmm
to learn." And then I started doing some research on Workday, and I was given the opportunity to interview,
hmm
and I was fortunate enough to be given the job. So,
Yeah,
I think someone always opens the door for us, and
definitely.
I was given the opportunity. So, yeah, I'm very thankful for that manager at that time and the director because
Took
they
a bit of a
believed in me.
chance. Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And that was like 7 years ago now. So how's it
Yes,
been since?
yes. I mean, it's there was in the consulting side, I was a consultant in AMS,
hmm
application management
Okay.
services, so helping clients, post implementation with
hmm
additional projects. But then I made a transition into the customer side 2.5 years later
Right.
because I felt like I wanted to feel experience the full
Both sides.
HRIS at the
Yeah,
customer side,
definitely.
just to be a well-rounded consultant in the
hmm
future. And so I made the move,
Mm.
and yes, it was a completely different scenario when you're in
Yeah.
a live production environment. And but being on the customer side since then, in Dallas, that's where I started with the customer there, and then thanks to that experience and my consulting experience, then I was given an opportunity to move to the Netherlands in 2017.
Amazing.
And yeah, I lived there for 3.5 years,
hmm
worked different roles, and that's where I grew into a manager role in the Netherlands, and I'm back in the States. So
Now you're back.
it's been quite the
So
journey.
it's taken
Yes.
you all over the world. And I mean, that transition from partner to end user is something we see a lot in the Workday ecosystem, right? So often people do the partner side of things and then they want to get involved in the real kind of full experience. And so they move over into the end user environment. Would you say that that is the best journey to learn to go to make for like the best Workday consultants in terms of experience, because you have the real like hands-on system stuff and then you move into the client and you learn that? So would you recommend that as a journey?
Uh, well, for me, I think it was very positive, right? And I
hmm
think we all have different backgrounds and preferences. But I
Of
can
course.
I can tell you now that when I'm working with consultants, is one of
hmm
the questions I ask because have you seen this before yourself, not only from a consulting perspective, but have you
Yeah.
actually experienced it from a customer
hmm
perspective? Because then you're really understanding my needs, right? Now that I'm on the other
Of
side,
course.
and so I believe it does bring value.
hmm
I've seen great consultants that never been on the HRIS
Yeah,
side,
of course.
and but I think it is really just you make that connection with the customer
hmm
and build that partnership because you can say, yeah, I know what you're going through because I
Yeah,
was there 5 years ago,
sure. Yeah,
and
no.
it does help. It does help, and again, because my background was fully IT, so
hmm
for me it was definitely a transition We
Yeah.
have, yeah.
More people, I think, that in my experience anyway, and I don't know if this is, a European thing or what it is, but I find more people come from a HR background into the Workday space, typically just because they may have been in a role, I don't know, in recruitment or in another kind of HR function, and then this whole transition happened, and then they had a touch point with Workday, and they're like, that's really cool. Like, I want to learn more about that. I don't want to go back to just being functional. I want to be involved in the system side of things, and that seems to be the journey that a lot of people go through.
Yep, exactly. And when I was when I went for my certification,
Hmm.
I would say 90% of the students that were there came from either HR back
Yeah.
or previous HRIS systems, right? Other HRIS
Hmm.
systems. So it was only a few of us that were coming just from
IT.
completely different backgrounds, which
Yeah.
IT. Yeah.
Which is kind of unique to Workday, really. I mean, I've done a little bit of work with like SAP, and I know
Mhm.
that like the Salesforce market a little bit, and those people tend to be IT people, right? That then
Yep.
have a touch point with SAP, with Salesforce, with a various system, and then move into that space. So they definitely do tend to be more techie, and that's
hmm
obviously great for that industry, but I particularly love working in the Workday space because it's so like human resource based. I have nice conversations all the time. I'm speaking to people who love people, who are all about
hmm
people systems. So I think as an ecosystem, it's just like a really nice and welcoming kind of environment, I've found anyway.
Definitely. Definitely. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, cool. And obviously, you touched upon your move recently. So you were in the Netherlands for a few years, and then you've moved over to the States recently,
Yes.
during this crisis, which is definitely a bold move. So how have you found that kind of experience moving into a company, doing all the onboarding, which I'm guessing has been mostly virtual? Have you
Yep.
found that your experience has been very different to what it would have been, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yes, yes. So, yeah, we relocated in at the end of July. So,
Mhm.
um, obviously there were some logistics challenges
Of
just,
course.
with moving and flights, but ultimately, it wasn't, it was pretty straightforward
Yeah.
still at that time. I relocated to Tampa from the Netherlands,
Hmm.
and we were fortunate enough that again we didn't have delays, and everything just kind of worked out. It was like the right timing during
Yeah.
that week. So there were less travel restrictions. I didn't
Hmm.
have to quarantine in the U.S. Well,
Oh,
it
amazing.
was recommended quarantine at home, but it wasn't
Okay,
mandatory
I
like
see.
in a hotel. So,
Yeah.
um, yes, be- we were ready to come back to the U.S. as a
Hmm.
family. Be closer to family here in the States, and so we decided to just come back. I
Take the
accepted an
plunge. Yeah.
opportunity with Masonite,
Hmm.
and uh, yeah, I mean, onboarding was. We do have the opportunity to go to the office here
Hmm.
in Tampa at Masonite. So my first day was in the office, but it was really only with my manager and I think was
Right.
another colleague. It was
Yeah.
pretty empty,
Yeah.
and that's something that really shook me because I was like, "Whoa, it's an empty office, brand
Hit
new building,
home.
and
Yeah.
yes, and 90% of my meetings with my teammates and the other key stakeholders or virtual,
Yeah.
and it's something to adjust. Of
Hmm.
course, now it's I think we have plenty of time to make that adjustment. But
Yeah.
for me, it's still, uh, I'm more of a people person.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get up and go to your office and discuss
Definitely.
something. And so it has been a transition for me, but
For
it
sure.
has not been a business stopper.
No. No.
you,
I
you
think
know.
I think Workday generally has kind of, well, obviously there's been people that have been affected and programs that have been
Mhm.
affected, but in terms of the day to day and the responsibilities, whilst it's probably preferable to be there and be with your
Mhm.
team and to get that face time with stakeholders and everything else, it can be done remotely. And that's why the
Exactly.
market has allowed for people like you to change positions in this time. There are still positions there. We're still
Yep.
actively recruiting. Companies are working towards certain goals that they're not necessarily going to put on hold. And I guess that's because the people side of things at the moment, the data is so important.
Exactly. Yep. And to your point, you know, I was in, I joined a project in the middle of March, so I had the opportunity to go to the office for a week, and then travel restrictions, everything happened with the current
Yeah.
situation. But there was all this plan to travel for training, for end-to-end
Right.
testing, and everything just stopped. So we have to shift, quickly. But at the end of the day, it was, the project moved forward, and it was very positive.
Yeah.
We met the deadline,
It's a
and even
different
here now,
experience.
uh, when I joined, we were, the team was in the middle of an implementation, and I again joined during the end-to-end testing,
Yeah.
and the plan was to go to the UK and then do the
Right.
end-to-end testing there. But we ended up doing virtually, so we work with different time zones. Sometimes we had to work, get up a little bit earlier, but you can still manage it. And we were able to go live. We were able to continue with the project because
Yeah.
ultimately, you know, it. I think companies are seeing that it is a priority to have that
Just,
people
yeah.
data to continue with these projects.
Yeah.
In my experience,
No, yeah, that's been my experience
yeah,
too. Of course, there's been a little bit on the flip side where that's not possible,
yeah,
but generally it seems to have kind of ticked on. And I guess the difference would be that companies are being a little bit more careful in terms of resourcing. So if they already have a team that perhaps could manage but could do with additional resource, they're saying, okay, let's hold the additional resource, let's do what we can with what we've got, which is great because it's meant that a lot of people have got to keep their jobs. But I think it also has meant that there's a few more people in the market looking for things. There's not so many jobs out there.
exactly. Yep,
Yeah.
and I have a large network in the U.S. With ex-colleagues, in
Sure.
Dallas
Yeah.
and then across the country, and a couple of them have reached out to because
Yeah.
they were looking for opportunities, the difficult situations where, but ultimately through networking, they were able to find something
Yeah.
relatively quickly, I would say. But I think this is key, right, to kind of continue building your network, continue to keep those connections, because at one point we need to reach out. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. And
yep,
you don't know when that might be, particularly at the moment
exactly.
when things are uncertain. So
Yes,
But
yeah,
Workday's pretty good at that, I think. There's a huge network on LinkedIn and, so
hmm
many user groups and so much assistance that I actually think that I've seen so many people like sharing posts and getting
hmm
people out there in the market and trying to help, which is nice. And I think that's why the world is still kind of going round in the Workday space so well.
yes, I completely agree. Yes, and yeah, I mean, it is definitely Workday has this ecosystem to allow that kind
Yeah.
of flexibility in a way.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
collaboration, which
Yep.
is nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been really nice speaking to you and getting an insight into that and finding out a little bit more about your journey. And yeah, thank you so much for your
Yeah.
time.
Thank you for your time. It was great.